Hey Tiny Home Tour, welcome to my van. Hey y'all, I'm Madelyn.
And I'm Caleb, and this is our van Yumi.
She is a 1993 Toyota Hiace. She is imported from Japan. To me, a decorated space feels more like home. So I sewed these little flags to put up in here, painted the stripes on everything, did the color scheme with the curtains and the outside of the van to kind of go together. First thing that we ever bought on our very first adventure was a patch. So we put Velcro on them and we just stick them all in here. So every place that we've been, a lot of state parks, a lot of national parks, things like that, we'll pick up a patch for and throw it up there. So this is a pure water filter. You can get this pretty much anywhere. We got it at the grocery store. Plumbing from the back runs all the way down the sidewall and around here to this cabinet. And it actually provides running water through this and our filter. If we flip this and we just fill up bottles and our cup or anything like that for pure water. We really had like our whole layout based upon this area right here because we knew we wanted the big sink. We knew we wanted to be able to have a fridge that held more than just a weekend's worth of food. We built this cabinet for our fridge. It was the first thing we ever built, ever. So our carpentry skills were novice at best, but we ended up finishing the cabinet, making a lid for it, putting the hinges on. We have a trusty can of tuna that we just, ta-da! It's a Max Burton fridge. It's kind of like an off-brand Dometic or ARB. Our sticker collection that we've gotten so far, a lot of people that we've met, a lot of van lifers and some from van life events. We have the hats up here and those literally sit there all day, every day. And you learn how to cook in a tiny environment. So learning how to organize your food and like pick good things at the grocery store, because when you're tiny, like you can't buy excessive junk and random things that you're not going to use. So I think like your cooking and your food in general is like kind of the hardest thing to like ultimately feed yourself properly, like cook it all in such a little space. But I think that's one of the harder things. I wouldn't say the worst, but hard.
This is a right-hand driver. It takes a little bit to get used to, but after a while, it's not too bad. You get a lot of weird stares from people a lot of times. They don't really know what to think. They're like, hey, how do you do that? How do you drive that? I'm like, you just hop in and go, I guess. But when we first started off with the van, we didn't do anything with the engine. We didn't do any mechanical stuff, which I learned later on that you should do that first. We went ahead and stripped all the paint and had all of the rust work done. It's an automatic. We can actually keep our food warm, cold, or we can make ice. So it's like a little Japanese ice heat box. And this actually lifts up, and our engine's under there. We use a 12-volt battery, deep cell, and we have this connected to our main battery. As long as we're driving, we keep it charged, then we don't lose a whole lot of power. And then anytime we're somewhere with electricity, we'll just go ahead and hook this up and charge overnight. We keep a switch between it, so whenever we want to charge the battery, we just turn that switch to on, and it sends battery from our original van battery to the external battery, which then powers our fridge and all the lights in the back, and our pump.
A lot of people get into like perfecting it, and I feel like that's why they take so long. We finished our whole build, like every single thing, in 2 months, and most people are like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But it was just because we were like, that's good. Like, it works. If it works, it works. This is our closet. It consists half of my clothes, half of his clothes. We worked really hard to become minimalists, and this is what we've gotten down to. We find we have a lot of blue jeans, and we have, you know, a good mix of other things that we can kind of switch up. The fuse box, so all the wires run in from the sides right here to the fuse box, and then I have it running up here to the inverter and back here to the 3-prong and the USB. We actually don't have a toilet because a lot of the places that we went were, even if it was National Forest or anything like that, they had pit toilets at least. So I think pit toilets is what we use the most. When we do have flush toilets, it's kind of a luxury that we enjoy. The main bathrooms, like as a whole, like a shower, sink, toilet situation, is our Planet Fitness. So shout out to them, thanks. It hasn't been too bad for us. The 4 months that we've been doing it has been, I don't think we've ever had any emergencies that we couldn't make it somewhere in time. So we're thankful for that. We put the curtains all the way around, so they cover this window, they cover the front, they cover the sliding door that opens up, and then we have the ones at the back that kind of we can put down and open up if we want the back up, but we want a little bit of privacy while we're inside. So we put a lot of these little hooks throughout the van just because when you have little things that you want to organize, it's super convenient because they're out and they're available. And we knew we couldn't fit doors on here because there was such a tight space with the bed. So we ended up just going with kind of a rounded, open cut shelving system. We keep undies, socks, sleeping clothes that we can keep in reach for the bed. The pantry. It is the best. We have lots of junk food right now, but we kind of keep our goodies over here and kind of the stuff that we use a lot right here. So I have my spices, I have my Nutella, I have my ramen, cocoa, all that good stuff. So this is my bathroom stuff. It is a caboodle. It's done me pretty well because we don't actually have any mirrors besides the mirrors in the front. So I like to open it up and use the mirror. Super awesome. Once we started realizing like our things weren't as important as our experiences, that's what the game changer when we were like, yeah, we need to go tiny.
Yeah, once we had, because when we were cleaning out the apartment, we had like 3 garage sales, and we're getting rid of stuff that cost us hundreds of dollars. We're selling it for $5,
Yeah.
and it's like, what was the point in that to begin with?
Yeah.
You know? So altogether, the van actually has 12 windows total. In the top, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 sunroofs. We actually use this one here to stand inside of. It's kind of like our little pop top. This van is actually 4-wheel drive, which was really a main aspect of me buying it. because I wanted to be able to take it on some of forest roads, off-road a little bit. A lot of people make fun of us because it looks like this cute little van, and then here we are out in the mountains 4x4, and which was really important to me because that's one of my favorite things to do. We made sure to get some locking lug nuts so we don't get any of our stuff stolen. Whenever we're laying in the back, we can actually see out of these. This is 2 separate little moon roofs, so each person has their own little window to the stars at night, which is pretty cool.
This is Nora. She is a tortie. I adopted her right before me and Caleb met, and she's been living the van life with us. She's a pretty explorative cat. Her favorite spot is not in my arms, apparently.
The first thing you need to know when you buy an import is that there's almost no parts in the US, at least for these types of vans. So anytime that something happens on the van, if anything breaks, then we're usually down for about 2 weeks, and we have to wait for those parts to come in from Japan or from Australia. Once those parts come in, if I don't know how to fix it myself, then I have to hire out a mechanic. And there's only about 6 mechanics in the whole United States that even work on them. So that's kind of a pain. It's been driving great. We really haven't had any issues out of it yet, knock on wood. We got some suspension fixed. We had a little bit of a lean, which I think was due to my weight distribution at first. So I ended up moving my battery from that side, or from the driver's side to the passenger side to balance out our weight some more. So since I like to off-road, I wanted to make sure that we had a full-size tire, and I keep that under here. We went to the tent shop and we were like, hey, how much is it to tint this back window? And he was like, oh, that's going to be like $200. And we were like, oh, we don't like that. And so he's like, no, here's a suggestion. He said, you can take some Plasti Dip and just spray the whole thing, and that would be completely blacked out. So that's what we did, and if it ever messes up, we can just peel it off. So might even do the other windows like that eventually. So for our kitchen setup, we like to keep it pretty simple. This comes off right here. We can open it up. This is what I do every day for dinner. We usually pull this out. I'll set that here. And then pull out my Coleman, which this Coleman's actually has a grill on one side and a burner on the other. So that's pretty nice for cooking at dinner. So over here, I actually used to have a hot water heater, but we ended up coming to the realization that when it's cold outside, you don't really want to be taking a shower outside, and so you don't need the hot water. So we ended up just ripping that out and putting a shelf here instead, which I like to keep all our kitchen stuff on. But you just kind of wedge that out, and we can attach this to any just place where you can get water and run it through and fill up our tank that way. So now for showers, we either just go to a state park and we'll pay a small fee to shower there, or we will use our Planet Fitness membership. And this one, I keep all of our garage stuff, so I have a lot of tools in there, tape, a saw. And this one, I keep an extra tent that we actually call the guest house. So if mom and dad want to come and stay, we'll get them hooked up. It's all one solid piece on the bottom. We put some vinyl on there just to make it nice. And then we got these foam pieces, and we got a few of them and glued them all together. And that's how we made our bed.
for most people, if you want to travel and do van life, which is what we do, then you do have to cut costs. Like some things you got to cut out. And we started doing that before we did van life so that we would be like kind of prepared. But I think that helped us a lot. So I would say like go ahead and start a van life budget and do that before you're even in the van to try to teach yourself and get yourself like on that routine. Having the attitude of like everything is positive, like each thing is kind of just a lesson, that helps in van life too, because when stuff goes wrong, you can look at it as like a learning opportunity. Thank y'all for checking out our tiny home on wheels. Our plan in the future is to keep traveling, keep seeing states, and keep meeting more van lifers and fellow travelers.
And you can check us out at Patchwork Canteen on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
Bye y'all.